The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Rudy's Revelation.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. It is the 1st of July. Happy summer. All right, we're going to get into the news in just a second. Musk is complaining again on how the budget process works. As I just told Perry, the budget process is like herding cats, and the cats all want money. So we're going to talk about that, Musk's latest upstart, and we're going to talk about the details of the Idaho sniper who apparently was sniping with a shotgun. So again, with a mass shooter, we're having conflicting reports about exactly what happened. Usually the truth comes out right away. It's not what people say that, oh, the truth comes out over time. Usually your initial reports are correct. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Welcome to today's episode. Got 30 headlines to get through today. I usually go through about at least 30 headlines, probably the most news in an hour that you will be subject to. So we'll try to get through it in just an hour. So let's get to the headlines. All right. It looks like my live feed is hung up again. We're going to start out with Zero Hedge. Trump versus Musk. Trump's big beautiful bill feud sparks overnight political firestorm. And if you didn't know what was happening here, there was, in Elon Musk's defense, what we have here is someone who is passionate. He's more of a libertarian. He thought he was a liberal and then came over to the Republicans. He's more of a libertarian, like Javier Milei, the president of Argentina. And he's talking about, well, we did so much work in Doge trying to slim down spending because if we don't get control of the deficit, it's going to be a disaster, which is true. But did Musk ever consider what Trump's political stance is? Trump is not a conservative. Trump likes to spend money. And he has several businesses. He must know a thing or two about budgets, and he's worked for other people, I imagine. You must know about budgets. Nobody wants to reduce budgets. They all just seem to want to increase a budget, and plus you add inflation in there, so you have to have budgets increasing because of inflation. This happens when you're playing the budgetary game. That's why we haven't had a budget in some time. We've been going off continuing resolutions for a long time because it's so hard to pass a budget because everybody wants money guarantees for their state or for their constituency or their donors or whatever before they will agree to vote for the bill. That's the problem with democracy. I'm not against democracy, but I'm just saying it comes with its own pitfalls. Let's get back to Zero Hedge. So Tesla shares slid in pre-market trading in New York following a late-night clash between CEO Elon Musk and President Trump. The feud played out across their respective social media platforms. Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. So Trump is trying to suggest that Elon Musk is just butthurt about the cancel of the EV mandate And a lot of the subsidies going towards so-called clean energy, green energy. One of the most particular and new things with this bill is that it cuts subsidies for battery, solar and battery storage for the solar. And if you know anything about Tesla's home battery, he has a whole industry around the Tesla home battery. So Trump goes on to say that it's ridiculous, and I was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any other human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps you should have Doge take a hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Well, the problem is when you go against, when you hit or strike out at Trump, he hits back hard. He has no tolerance for disloyalty and all this other shit. So you have to know who you're going up against. And by the way, Elon, I know you're the richest man in the world. Good for you. But Trump is the president of the United States. So if it's an ego thing, I think Trump is going to win out because he has a lot more money at his disposal than even you do. It's probably close. The National Review, Musk threatens primaries against Republicans who support the big, beautiful budget bill. And, now you're playing politics. You're going to now strike out against the most popular, the biggest political movement in American history. Good luck. I don't think Musk has had his head in politics long enough to really understand what he's doing. And I'm not, MAGA right or wrong or anything like that. I'm not a supporter of Trump no matter what he does. I'm against war, and I was really against the airstrikes in Iran, but one and done is, I think works, and you can see the strategy behind that as far as the strikes on Iran are concerned. And as far as the bill is, he's trying to stimulate the economy. Now, the economy is bigger than it's ever been, if you didn't know. So does it need more stimulus? And he realigned the spending to go towards productivity would be spurred, hence growth. We need to have more growth. The GDP needs to be higher than inflation. So there are a lot of factors going in here. I'm a conservative. I'm not for spending or big government or whatever. To me, big spending is big government. And so I understand where Massey's coming from, or Rand Paul is coming from, where Elon Musk is coming from. But it's not time to bicker right now because you're just obstructing a legislative win that needs to happen. National Review starts out saying billionaire Elon Musk, one of the Republican Party's largest donors in 2024, is strongly opposed to the GOP's mammoth tax and spending package and now believes lawmakers should lose primary challenges for supporting it. And I also have to add here that they include the tax cuts as an expense, which I don't believe should happen. In any case, it goes on to say Musk has posted repeatedly on X about the issues with the big, beautiful budget reconciliation bill making its way through the GOP-controlled Senate. On Monday, Musk suggested they would get involved with primary challenges against lawmakers who vote for the spending bill. He doesn't have the political clout like Trump does. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their heads in shame. Musk posted on X yesterday. We need this bill. I hate to say it. I understand where the detractors are coming from, but we need this win. I don't believe this in the size of the bill, but you got to look at the numbers. So, Trump didn't draft the bill, by the way, just so you know. It doesn't work that way. It's drafted in the legislature. I mean, the administration has a lot to do with drafting the bill. But let's keep our heads. All right, Mediaite. Elon Musk calls for new political party to stop Trump's insane spending bill. Again, Elon Musk believes, right? He believes that he could start a political party to rival MAGA. Good luck. It's like anybody else who starts doing something and go, hey, I could do that. And Musk certainly has never been daunted in what he wants to do. But Elon, think of it this way. How is your boring project going? Not everything you set out to do turns out to be easy. And I have found out with live streaming. All right, let's go back to the article. Mediaite. Elon Musk slammed President Donald Trump's big, beautiful budget bill yet again on Monday, but this time it went so far as to call for the formation of a new political party to stop Trump's insane deficit spending. So now Musk is what? Siding with the Democrats in opposing the president? He writes on X, it is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country. The Porky Pig Party, Musk wrote. Yeah. I get you. I see where you're coming from. I understand there's a lot of pork in that, but you can't just have a bill that nobody signs. States need money. And don't forget, the senators are not representatives. Senators advocate for the states that you're a senator for. So if you're a senator from Connecticut, you're advocating for spending to come to your federal dollars to come into your state. And each year, depending on the state, states want more. How much more? I don't know. But that's the problem. The Daily Beast. The Daily Beast. Musk vows to back Trump's nemesis as their feud explodes. So Musk is backing Thomas Massie. So Thomas Massie said, and Rand Paul, and there are people out there that have firm convictions in conservatism. Mostly it's libertarians. It's the two libertarians that are the true conservatives, as I said of Thomas Massie before. So I understand their conviction, for sure. But Trump said he was going to primary Thomas Massie because he didn't support this bill. I think that's a little spiteful, vindictive, but that's Trump. Doesn't surprise me. He wants everybody to get on the team. And I agree at this point. If you want to stand there and stand for your political philosophy, great, as long as there's enough room for the bill to pass without you. So we'll see what happens in the Senate. But Elon Musk says he will back Representative Thomas Massie if Trump launches a primary against him. That's fine. Is Thomas Massie Trump's nemesis? No, I don't think so. And this is the Daily Beast. I think if you would say who's Trump's nemesis, Chuck Schumer, maybe Nancy Pelosi. I wouldn't say Trump's nemesis is Thomas Massey. All right, let's go over to Reuters. Trump suggests slashing Tesla subsidies. Musk says cut it all. All right, so Musk says he doesn't care. Trump suggests Doge review Musk's subsidies for savings. Musk criticizes tax cut bill, calls for a new political party. Tesla shares fall more than 6% in pre-market trading. My problem with this, first of all, is it is Reuters. Trump suggests Doge review Musk subsidies for savings. Fine. Musk criticized tax cut bill. Musk is not criticizing the tax cut part of the bill. That Reuters added that in. Musk is criticizing the spending, the pork. He said pork. He said porky pig. So this is the money that goes to states. And he's obviously upset that Tesla shares fall more than 6%. But that's because the mandate was cut. And now people have read the bill, and the subsidies for electric cars, EVs, solar, battery, all these things have been cut as well. The Washington Times, Senate passes amendment to strip ban on AI regulations as big, beautiful bill flails. The AI regulation ban that senators stripped from the bill has changed several times. It started in the House as a full moratorium on state regulation of AI for the next decade. The Senate had to amend it to comply with rules for the budget reconciliation process, so initially crafted a proposal that said states must adopt the ban if they wanted to continue to receive federal broadband funding, that's subsidies. The most recent version, and the one ultimately stripped from the bill, was watered-down proposal. Instead of forcing states to adopt the ban, it would have incentivized them to do so by tying it to $500 million in funding for the deployment of AI models or systems. Subsidies. So maybe Elon Musk is upset at this because he is funding AI. So Senator Marsha Blackburn opposed the proposal but attempted to work with the Senate Commerce Chairman Ted Cruz, Texas Republican, on a compromise. It was eventually stripped, but they discussed reducing the regulatory moratorium to 5 years and adding some language, the exceptions. Ms. Blackburn said they couldn't agree to acceptable language that allows states to protect their citizens from the abuses of AI. What abuses could AI have? She then teamed up with the Commerce panel's top Democrat, Washington Senator Maria Cantwell, to strip the AI language from the bill and preserve states' ability to issue regulations while the federal government struggles to adopt universal standards. It's bullshit. I believe in states' rights and the fact that AI is already a disruptive technology and it now is very scary. She goes on to say this body has proven that they cannot legislate on emerging technology. It's frustrating, she said, noting states are the ones that are protecting children, content creators, and others in the virtual space. So you can't say, yeah, there's a moratorium on regulations for this space, which I agree. Because what we have happening now, before I get to our next stories, well, let's get what I'm working at here is two things that have linked up for the revelatory truth about what we're discovering by reading the news. Is the article in Futurism that said, well, let's get back to mass shooters, and I'll get to that in just a second. Because mass shooters are convinced to start their mass shootings by being targeted, isolated, lone wolves being targeted by people online, sock puppets, chatbots, etc., And then some of them may very well be on psychoactive medicine. And then they're convinced to do things, or they're convinced to kill themselves, or both, or whatever. So there is some sort of op that's going on. And now it appears that they've trained AI to conduct these ops that were usually done by ex-FBI, CIA folks online who would pose as peers, you know, the lone wolves, only friends who would be out there urging them to commit these acts. But let's get to this AP article first. National pride is declining in America, and it's splitting by party lines, new Gallup polling shows. No shit. Only 36% of Democrats say they're extremely or very proud to be an American, according to a new Gallup poll reflecting a dramatic decline in national pride that's also clear among young people. So what's happening here? So it's propaganda, brainwashing, mind manipulation, influence, what do you want to call it, nudging. And so Democrats, democratic socialists, people on the left that believe that people's tax dollars should go to everything that soothes their hearts, whether it's immigrants or trans people or whatever it is. But they've also been propagandized to hate America. And the reason this is happening is, if you look back to Yuri Andropov? Yuri, he was a communist Soviet Union defector who said, who talked about active measures. What it is subversive propaganda, ideological subversion. And this is part of the process. And people on the left are too stupid to realize that they're being taught to hate their country. And so despite their country, they want to help people that aren't citizens of this country, or help or whatever they could do to soothe their hearts. And we're going to get to the other thing in just a second. So with the mass shooter thing, it's almost the same. It's almost the same. It's being propagandized online and in academia to be self-loathing, to loathe your circumstance, and hence loathe your political leaders, the state in which you're living. And it's easy for people that have never been abroad. If you've ever traveled abroad and you're an American, you're like, can't wait to get home sometimes. For real. I mean, I'm not talking about if you're sitting on a beach in Curacao. What I'm talking about is if you go to foreign countries, whether Asia, Africa, or Europe, even Europe, you know, you miss America. So in any case, let's look at this chart. Democrats' pride in being American has dropped to 36%. Now, this chart shows from 2000, where the relative appreciation, or I should say, the percentage of people, I guess citizens, who say they are extremely or very proud to be an American, was around 85%, right? Relative. 85 to 90% relative among Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So in late 2000 or 2003, it surged to Republicans to 99%, went down, then went up to 95, then went down to 84% until, during the Biden years. And then for Democrats, it slowly eroded over time. I think it peaked during Obama, and then it's gone up and down. Obviously, like my... And now it's at 36%, independents 53%. And it's like my brother. When Biden was president, he flew an American flag outside his house. Now that Trump's president, he doesn't want to fly an American flag outside his house. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, what the fuck? Your nation outside of your leadership is what's appreciated. Now, I'm not a flag waver, so I don't fly flags. That's just my nature. You know, because you have to be it shows your allegiance for something, and then if the thing you pledged allegiance to goes sour, then where are you? So I don't wave flags. I appreciate America. I can even be considered a nationalist because I like freedom. And nowhere else is freedom inculcated as much as it is here in America. All right. So let's get to this other headline here about this Idaho shooter. So as I explained yesterday, just like what happened in Minnesota, right? In Tim Walz's state, you have this supposed right-wing shooter targeting Democrats. And the funny thing is that story fell flat. Why did it fall flat? I think it was because of the anomalies. Right? It was the anomalies. So maybe Democrats, independents, Republicans alike looked at it and go, what the fuck is going on here? Right? The only way this guy is tied to Trump is some weirdo roommate that said he loved Trump. So that's a one source allegation. The guy could be lying, who knows? The point is that fell flat. So what do we have now? We have another shooter. So, and of course, anomalies and strange involvement of the FBI. So let's get into the story here. So, New York Times, suspect mounted deadly firefighter ambush from a tree. Sheriff says. The authorities say the man who fatally shot 2 firefighters in Idaho set a brush fire and shot at those who responded, killing 2 and injuring a 3rd. This is strange because the suspect, identified at West Raleigh, is believed to have climbed a tree and shot the firefighters below with a shotgun. All right, so initial report said firefighters, a sniper was shooting at firefighters. Then they said, then there's information that police got into a shootout with the sniper. But still, there are other reports that the firefighters confronted this guy, Wes Rowley, in his car or at some point and said, your car is blocking emergency vehicles, you got to move it. So was he, they don't say whether he was at the car. Was he in the tree? Were they yelling up to him in the tree saying, hey, you got to move your car? And then they shot him? Well, then they're not sniping. So the key details, again, are being obfuscated. Law enforcement officers exchanged fire with a gunman while the wildfire burned. But then they say he shot himself. Later, using cell phone signal data, and we're going to get to this very important thing, officials found the body of the suspect on the mountain with a firearm nearby. With a firearm. With the shotgun? Doesn't say. It just said he was shooting with a shotgun and then says with a firearm nearby. Of course, because he shot himself. The authorities said on Monday that they believe the suspect, who they think acted alone, died in an apparent suicide. With a shotgun? This, again, we know of people shooting themselves in the head with shotguns twice, and then the wound doesn't, I'm very skeptical of all these things. Now, the kid had a lot of issues, and we're going to get into that. Rowley's grandfather, Dale Rowley, said in an interview on Monday that his grandson had expressed interest in becoming a forest firefighter. He moved to Idaho last year and was working for a tree company. He was just trying to figure his life out. Well, I hate hearing that. That means you're mentally ill. If he said that. If he said, Grandpa, I'm just trying to figure it out, that means you're mentally ill. He seemed to be a little bit optimistic. I say, see, this is how it works. And we're going to get to more of this in just a second. But this is how it works. People that are isolated, particularly if they're isolated online, are easy targets for manipulators. You want to call them the dementors. You could call them whatever you want. The reality is they find people who are loners because they're easily targeted because they don't share their views with other people. So they can't say, hey, I was online the other day and some guy reached out to me and said I should start a fire and then shoot the firefighters or whatever. Who knows? Or sometimes it's even not that overt. Sometimes they just wind you up. You know, say your life sucks. It's because of the world. You know, you need to get back at them, seek vengeance. So New York Post, family of Idaho sniper. So now he's a sniper with a shotgun. What sniper has a shotgun? Family of Idaho sniper Wes Rowley breaks silence after he ambushed shot firefighters. Their family says they do not understand. Always, of course, he's a nice guy. We don't understand why this happened or came about. Then the Associated Press, the man accused of killing 2 Idaho firefighters, had once aspired to be one. Wes Rowley was living out of his vehicle, and his former roommate, TJ Franks, he lived with this guy. They weren't like roomies. He lived in the house with this guy. Said he shaved off his hair and started to go kind of downhill. The two lived together for 6 months in Sandpoint, Idaho, until Rowley moved out in January, Frank said. He didn't have any money, so he was living in his car. Okay, so the guy, was he working for a tree company? He wasn't working for a tree company. This guy only knew him for 6 months. And how does he know he started to go downhill? He shaved off his hair. Well, the guy had long hair, and then he shaved off his hair. Okay, that might be a sign of mental illness. So maybe the guy's going crazy. So he got a shotgun. How do you snipe with a shotgun? Apparently he was, and how far up a tree was he? And how easy is it to shoot a shotgun from a tree? Could knock you out of the tree. Goes on to say Rowley had set fire using a flint at Canfield Mountain, a popular recreation area. According to authorities, the firefighters who rushed to the scene found themselves under fire and took cover behind trucks. I thought he was in a tree. And why would they need to take cover behind trucks from a shotgun? Was it slug? Was it birdshot? Now, we're not going to hear from the investigators what caliber, what type of bullet killed the firefighters. Now, we get to the good part, and we're going to get to more. There was an interaction with the firefighters. It has something to do with his vehicle being parked where it was. Well, they responded. The firefighters responded, and was he at the car and then ran into the woods with a rifle? Did they see him in the tree and say, hey, you got to move your car? And by the way, there's a forest fire. Maybe you should get out of the tree. So things aren't started. They already don't make sense. 2 helicopters converged on the area, armed with snipers, ready to take out the suspect if needed. Nobody shot himself. Was he in the tree when he shot himself? If you shoot yourself with a shotgun, you're going to blow your fucking head off. While the FBI used his cell phone data to track him, and the sheriff ordered residents to shelter in place. So there are 2 things you have to know here. FBI The Federal Bureau of Investigation violates your rights all the time because they have cell phone tracker and surveillance data on all Americans. And we're going to get to more of that in just a second. So this kid had a cell phone and a car. You know, where was he getting his money? Was it from the tree service? And obviously had money to buy guns. I'm not really sure. We don't know how many guns. It says a motive was still unknown. Of course it is. Now, I want to get back to the thing it said in the beginning that said Rowley had set the fire with using flint at Canfield Mountain. And if you looked at the map, it's sort of a town around this Canfield Mountain, which is not remote, but rugged. It's a steep mountain kind of in the middle of the town, or at the edge of the town. Why wouldn't he just use a lighter? Now, I was in a retreat recently. I succeeded, and we had a fire starting class, and we used not a flint, but other static or other, I think it was not magnesium, but by shaving off pieces of this rod, it made spark. So I understand that. But why would you light a fire using flint unless you were trying to hide the nature of the wildfire? Even if you use a lighter, as long as you don't use accelerant, so it doesn't matter if you use a lighter or flint. You know, so the guy wanted to be a firefighter. Was he a pyromaniac? We don't know. My problem is that people were being sniped at, purportedly, and the only snipers were FBI guys in a helicopter flying around. Was there somebody else on the mountain? We don't know. The answer obviously is no. They don't know, but, you know, there won't be any evidence because there was a fire. But we don't know. It's the same thing with Sandy Hook. Oh, no. You know, Adam Lanza did it alone, even though we found guys in the woods in camo in the back of the that were in the back of the school in the woods during the shooting. So we don't know. So, but you can't snipe at people with a shotgun. Now, if you're shooting slugs, you probably could shoot 100 yards, maybe. Not with birdshot. And we don't know. We don't know the ballistics of the people that were injured. A lot of questions surrounding this, and I'm not ruling out that the fact that this was a crazy kid, but I said more than likely, how do you know? He had a phone. He could be communicating with an AI chatbot, posing as a real person, posing as his only best friend who doesn't even really exist, that's telling him, why don't you test the fire department there? Or maybe he applied there and he got rejected and he lashed out at the firefighters. Maybe it was a plan, you know, his rejection. He's only 20 years old. He's driving around, living in his car, looking for work as a firefighter in Idaho. It sounds like mental illness. So, but who knows? I don't rule out anything. So let's move on with the news. Got about 20 minutes. All right, One American News, DOJ, over 300 people charged, including 100 medical professionals, in $16.4 billion national health care fraud takedown. Well, thank you, Pam Bondi. We need to look for more fraud everywhere, because especially in any government program, whether it's SNAP or any handouts, always get gamed. And a lot of times not gamed by ne'er-do-wells who are already on assistance that want to get more or work under the table, or, you know, they always try to game the system. They do. But there are plenty of organized professional fraudsters that work in teams or use multiple accounts to siphon money out of assistance programs. And a lot of these people are friends with Democrats. Please give us more money. And then their money increases when they have this scam going. Washington Times reports Trump tariffs have earned $81.5 billion in new money, says DHS. Awesome. So bringing money in. The only thing we need to do is we need to have a catalyst now to spur economic growth. And the Federal Reserve isn't going to help, so I say we need to pass this Trump bill to get the things rolling. Because everywhere, all the other indicators are great. Tariffs are working. Inflation is stabilized. It's near target. Unemployment is up a little bit, but that's when you're lowering inflation, that sometimes that's a result. I'm not too worried about that. A domestic job creation is always going to be offset moving forward by AI. So it's going to be hard to create manufacturing jobs when they want to do it with robots. Federalist as the headline, for the first time in 4 years, Americans aren't paying more for their July 4th cookouts. This year's total cookout cost is down 30 cents from the record high of $71.22 bill calculated in 2024 under Biden. Well, that's moderate. At least it's a decrease. And as I said with inflation, the problem with inflation is prices don't come down from inflation. It's not price gouging where the people charging you can just go, oh, we're going to lower the price now. We're not going to gouge you anymore. It's not how it works. It's actually your dollar that is worth less. And so if your dollar is worth less because of inflation, it can buy less. So it's not necessarily the prices go up, but the prices go up only because the dollar is worth less. All right, let's get to Alien Nation. We have PJ Media has the headline, activists are targeting ICE agents' families now. But we don't really need to explain this because they're all like, you can't hide your identity. They're not beat cops. They're not from your community. Hey, Joe, let me get your badge number or whatever. These are federal agents that are targeting, in a lot of instances, gang members and cartels who have long, vindictive reaches. And we're going to see about this in just a second. But the reality is the reason they're hiding, and they do this in El Salvador too, because the gangs will seek retribution. So always in anti-gang units, a lot of times they'll try to hide their identification, especially if they work undercover. You don't want to put the uniformed agent's face with the guy that you saw in the corner during a stakeout or whatever. All right, so the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement posted on X, encouraging gangs and others to rise against or kill ICE officers is a crime and you will be prosecuted. So the left is now targeting the families and children of ICE agents, PJ Media goes on to say. Yes, children. And still you wonder why ICE agents are protecting their identity. And it's not, the people in January 6th should have protected their identity too, because you didn't just have the federal government going after the people that protested on January 6th. You had teams of leftists at their computers finding people, identifying them, and sending that information to the FBI. Why? Well, there's more. Post-millennial. CNN under fire for promoting ICE Block app, allowing users to track, avoid ICE agents. The ICE acting director, Todd Lyons, responded to CNN or CNN's coverage of the app, stating CNN's promotion of an ICE spotting app is reckless and irresponsible because it puts the agents in danger. But you're putting the community in danger. They're illegal, like I explained time and time again. They're illegal immigrants. The remedy for illegal immigrants by law is deportation. There's no consideration offered in the law. Corporate media outlet CNN has been accused of promoting the ICE Block app, a software designed to alert people to the presence of nearby immigration authorities. The Trump White House said that the app would be encouraging violence toward ICE agents. And ICE has experienced a recent rise in attacks against personnel as they have carried out immigration enforcement. Indeed. Why are they protecting their identity? I mean, the left goes after everybody. I mean, during the Joe Biden era, I mean, people were literally outed for every transgression against liberals, and their lives were ruined, including anybody who showed support for or went to the January 6th protest. All right, some good news. Well, you could take it as you wish. From Military Times, Air Force to manage new militarized zone along the U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. Air Force is slated to manage a new militarized border zone in Texas along with the southern border with Mexico. Stretch of land known as National Defense Area spans 250 miles of the Rio Grande River and Hidalgo and Cameron counties, and will be administered as an extension of Joint Base San Antonio. Okay. I don't necessarily believe in like a demilitarized zone, but I always said first of all, they're going to finish the wall, which is great. I believe the southern border should have a wall and my wife was joking about minefields, but a road that's patrolled, using technology and or actual agents and maybe the military. And a subsequent, where needed, a subsequent fencing. So patrol road in the middle with a wall on one side, and then another fence with razor wire on the other side with a patrol road in the middle. With security cameras and all that stuff. I don't mind the military protecting the border. Isn't that their job? So, One American News is reporting Trump administration sues Los Angeles, citing illegal sanctuary city immigration policy. City of Los Angeles sanctuary city laws are illegal. Those laws and policies are designed to, and in fact do, interfere with and discriminate against federal government enforcement of federal immigration laws in violation of the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, wrote the DOJ in a lawsuit. The challenged law and policies of the city of Los Angeles obstruct the federal government's enforcement of federal immigration law and impede consultation and communication between federal, state, and local law enforcement officials. Sanctuary policies were the driving cause of violence, chaos, and attacks on law enforcement that Americans recently witnessed in Los Angeles, said Pam Bondi. Obviously, that's what I don't understand is, like, I believe in separation of state power and states' rights and all this stuff, but you can't defy federal law, and especially what is the jurisdiction of the federal government, which is border security. So there was an illegal alien who overstayed his visa, an Egyptian who attacked a Jewish gathering in Boulder, Colorado, and now an 82-year-old woman who was injured in that firebomb attack has died. 82-year-old Colorado woman was injured in a Molotov cocktail attack on demonstrators in support of Israeli hostages in Gaza, has died. Karen Diamond died as a result of severe injuries she suffered in the June 1st attack in downtown Boulder, Colorado. Prosecutors have listed 29 victims. Mohammed Sabri Solomon already faced a dozen charges in state court, including first-degree murder using an incendiary device, animal cruelty because a dog was hurt and then later put down. And it's very likely he's going to face hate crime charges. He was an illegal alien. And the point is that Biden should have had him out of here a long time ago, him and his family. I'm not blaming his family for the crime, but, you know, I worry more about Jew haters that are foreign nationals that give this country a bad name than citizens of this country who might not like Jews. And just for the record, I'm against anti-Semitism or any generalized hate. You know, I'm against hatred in general. I understand people get angry and stuff, and you can, everybody hates something. But hating people for things you don't even know the people and you hate them, I don't know how that works. I'm a true individualist. You judge people individually by their merits or their conduct. What's so hard about that? I don't put people in groups. Because they're like, you have your doppelganger, a person that's just like you, lives across the world. And then maybe Chinese or Mongolian or Indian or African or whatever. But it's a person that's just like you. Inherently, you know, you're a product of your life experience. So I don't want to get too drawn into that. All right. So Reuters is reporting Trump to visit Alligator Alcatraz Migrant Detention Center this week. Hooray. I'm all for that. Alligator Alcatraz. I don't like, man, I'm not a hard ass, but I don't like this mamby-pamby, especially with violent criminals. You know, somebody takes, you know, whips out a pistol and takes shots at people and then is out on the street the next day. Fuck that. You know, it's not like somebody was smoking weed in the park or whatever, depending on the state, and gets arrested. You know, that's nonviolent crime, even dealing drugs. Even if they have weapons and they're dealing drugs, it's like, to me, that's not nearly as dangerous as somebody who is brazenly indifferent to the safety of others by taking a gun out in public and shooting at people. Now, I want to tie this into this story. I want to tie the lone wolf shooter into this story. We talked about the FBI having cell phone data that they could track. Now, here the DOJ, the Sinaloa cartel hired a hacker to track FBI informants through geolocation data facilitating hip jobs. Well, what geolocation data? Well, the hacker built it? No, the geolocation data, it was hacked from the FBI. So the FBI has geolocators, at least from this, on their informants. And it was the same thing. They got geolocation data for the January 6th protesters, and apparently they had geolocation data on this lone wolf shooter in Idaho. So you could come to the conclusion that they have the FBI has geolocation data on everyone, or can get it. So, according to newly released 47-page audit, the hacker was hired to observe people going in and out of the United States Embassy in Mexico City and identify people of interest for the cartel, including FBI assistant legal attaché. The audit also revealed that the hacker would watch FBI informants' every move through geolocation data from their cell phone, as well as monitoring any incoming and outgoing calls. Furthermore, the hacker tapped into various surveillance cameras throughout Mexico City in order to identify any other individuals meeting up with the agent. Cartel used that information to intimidate and in some instances kill potential sources or cooperating witnesses. So, I mean, it's not definitive whether he stole geolocation data or was monitoring it or what have you. But I believe the FBI has surveillance data on every American, or most. Not that they use it. Like I said, the big AI facilities that are being constructed in Utah and New Mexico, and some in Texas, for the AI computings, most of the AI computing was developed, and I don't have a problem with this necessarily, was developed to analyze all the surveillance data being vacuumed up, which I do have a problem with, all the surveillance data. So, all right, moving a little more quickly now. AP mystery surrounds the Jeffrey Epstein files after Bondi claims tens of thousands of video. Nothing has really changed here. She said there are tens of thousands of videos, which we know, we saw, thanks to Luke Randowski, we saw the FBI taking DVDs, hundreds of them, out of St. Little John Island or whatever it's called, Jeffrey Epstein's island there in the Bahamas. So we know this happened. The Federalist lawsuit, Nevada elections chief is hiding records on alleged illegal voters. Well, we know this. I'm not going to go through it. Nevada-based Citizen Outreach Foundation, which aims to clean up the state's voter rolls via its Pigpen project. So they identified illegal voters and they asked for the information on these voters, and the person in charge, the election person, Democratic elections chief, is unlawfully denying the release of the records related to alleged illegal voters. What's new? Post-millennial, Texas bans China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea from buying land, property, and state covered under the bill of agricultural land, groundwater, mines, and quarries, commercial, industrial, and residential properties, as well as other properties. No more to China, particularly to other countries I could care less about, but China, we know what China's doing. Mediaite, Iranian hackers threatened to leak 100 gigabytes of stolen Trump team emails. Go to it. If you think that's going to bother the campaign, I don't care. Iran-linked hacker group is claiming. So that I told you before, the biggest, it's the cyber threat from Iran is actually the biggest threat towards America. Just the news, climate change influencer, once chums with Greta Thunberg, now calls the movement a scam. Lucy Biggers, who was friends with Greta Thunberg, now realized that she was driven insane. She was so tired of the threat of global warming that she decided that this is a scam. Indeed. I'm not going to get into this story too much more, but now she's making videos saying climate activism is actually controlled opposition, most of it controlled by the Chinese. Fox News, progressives trapped in misinformation bubble about transgender youth treatments. Atlantic writer admits. And we're going to get to another Atlantic article in just a second. Atlantic exposes how progressives have pushed zombie facts about suicide rates, evidence-based trans care standards. It makes people more insane. The reality there is, we saw what the report said. There's no evidence that mutilating young children makes them feel better about themselves. Newsweek, Free America anti-Trump protests taking place nationwide on 4th of July. There's more protests. Most of it's by these people that did the other the No Kings. So they're doing this again and again. It's all performative activism. They pay people. They get the grannies out there. It's the same thing behind the Arab Spring and the color revolutions. They sock puppet, TikTok, and all these other Mastodon and Blue Sky and get the people out there. It's not organic, it's synthetic. The Atlantic, that drop call with customer service, it was on purpose. Endless wait times and excessive procedural fuss, it's all part of a tactic called sludge. We know this. If you've ever tried to get out of your cell phone contract or do anything, cancel your timeshare, you go round and round, you get into cul-de-sacs, and then whoops, the call dropped, and then you got to start from scratch. But it has a name now. The tactic is called sludge. Fox News, the future of air combat. How long will the U.S. military still need pilots? Well, we know it's not good. Sixth-generation fighter program ramps up. Military insiders are divided on whether future warplanes need pilots at all. The F-35 should be the last manned aircraft because drone technology and driverless vehicles, unmanned vehicles, are the way of the future. We see it in trucking. We see it in taxis. We see it everywhere. Military aircraft, military boats, drones, trucks, taxis, everywhere. Warehouse floors, production facilities in the warehouse. Robots are everywhere. It's to displace humans. We know that. Amazon is on the cusp of using more robots than humans in its warehouses. The e-commerce giant now counts on more than 1 million of the machines at its facilities. And I think we're going to end up here with the Kremlin, with Russia. Zero hedge. Kremlin warns West against back in color revolution in Serbia as protests grow. Over 40,000 people, 140,000 people were in Belgrade. And Putin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters, we cannot rule out the possibility of the well-known tactics employed for carrying out color revolutions as now being used in Serbia. Thanks for joining me today. Really, do you think the color revolutions, see, if you know where Serbia is in the former Yugoslavia, they're trying to outflank the Russians' progress in Ukraine by undoing Serbia. The NATO is gonna fight against the Russians any way they can and every Russian ally. So, and how do you launch a color revolution? You get on social media and you sock puppet everyone and said, all your friends are in the streets, come out, we're gonna fight against the government. They've done it everywhere. They even do it in America. Now it's under the guise of anti-ICE. Same thing. Certainly some instigators are paid. Others aren't. My stream has been hanging up with Rumble all week so far. So tomorrow I might do a multicast. I'm going to start multicasting, I think, to X too. I do have a recorded version that seems to be, it drags a little bit. But at least it doesn't freeze and, Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Stay tuned for tonight. Another edition of Tuesdays with Perry, where Perry and I will discuss alligator Alcatraz in his home state of Florida and many other things going on in the world. So stay tuned for that. Stay hip to the trick. Remember, you're under attack, psychologically, biologically. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Hopefully I'll see you tonight. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Every day, live on Rumble, 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. Respect.
This is a conspiracy.